This is the statistical average of DeMarcus Cousins, aka Boogie, in the 2017 season when he was regarded as the best center in the NBA. And here's his stat line in 2022, his last season in the league. Notice the significant drop in his production? It's like he became a totally different player. I mean, he went from scoring nearly 28 points per game to averaging 9 points, all in the span of 5 years. So how does a four-time NBA All-Star player become so bad that no team wants him on their roster? Here is the curious case of DeMarcus Cousins, exploring his rise to the NBA, his decline, and the current state of his once illustrious basketball career. Coincidence sometimes is the doorway to better opportunities. This couldn't have been more true for DeMarcus Cousins and the incredible start to his basketball career. In his developmental years as an athlete, Boogie had no idea he would play in the NBA. In fact, he spent most of his time playing football, and his lifelong dream was to play in the NFL. However, a random encounter with a local AAU coach changed his mind, and the rest, as they say, is history. In this case, a history that started at the LaFleur Magnet High School. Although Boogie's game at the time was still raw and brash, he was able to make a name for himself. He led the team to the 6A Final Four while averaging 14 points and 8 rebounds. Boogie's stock was rising quickly, but he had a bad temper and was often seen as a villain. Unfortunately for Boogie, this bad reputation followed him to college, where he played for the Kentucky Wildcats. At Kentucky, he struggled to keep his emotions in check and constantly battled foul trouble. Thankfully, Coach John Calipari found a way to manage him effectively. Under the tutelage of Calipari, Boogie's all-around game evolved significantly. He developed quick feet and some serious ball-handling skills, all while maintaining his physical attributes. Due to his strength, size, and long wingspan, Boogie was a force on the defensive end. And on the offensive side of things, he had quite a number of weapons in his arsenal. In a pick-and-roll situation, he could play either as the facilitator or the roller. And when push came to shove, he could bully his way to paint like he always did in high school. These qualities made Cousins unstoppable on both ends of the court. Following his stellar performances for the Wildcats, he was selected by the Sacramento Kings as the 5th overall pick in the 2010 NBA Draft. Boogie immediately passed the eye test, and his statistical average of 14.1 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game in his rookie season confirmed everything the scouts had said about him. But he was far from being a finished product. While he shot 43% from the field, Boogie's accuracy from the three-point range was an awful 16.7%. As he continued to develop, his points, rebounds, and field goal percentage continued to increase. However, his three-point accuracy never exceeded 20% until the 2015 NBA season, where he averaged 24.1 points, 12.7 rebounds, and 3.6 assists while shooting 46.7% from the field and 25% from beyond the arc. That same reason, he became the first Sacramento Kings player to make the All-Star team since Brad Miller and Peja Stojakovic in 2004. And despite his foul trouble and attitude issues, which earned him several suspensions from both the league and the Kings, Cousins was seen as one of the best centers in the league. His numbers continued to improve as the years went by, and eventually, in 2017, he reached the peak of his NBA career. In the 55 games he played for the Kings that season, Cousins averaged 27.8 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 4.8 assists, while shooting 45.2% from the field and 35.6% from outside the arc. On top of that, he was named to the NBA All-Star team for the 3rd year in a row. He became dominant on both ends of the court, but his temperament issues never seemed to go away. Everyone, including opponents, referees, teammates, coaches, fans, and even reporters, got a taste of Boogie's fury. In a span of 5 years between 2011 and 2016, he served at least 10 suspensions and paid over $70,000 in fines for various offenses. One could imagine how frustrating it could be to have your star player suspended so often. In fact, news of his possible exit had been circulating as early as 2016, but every time he was asked, Cousins insisted that he was not worried about the rumors because he and the Sacramento Kings were on the same page. Well, it turned out Boogie was wrong, because in February 2017, the Kings got tired of his anger issues so much that they traded him to the New Orleans Pelicans without his consent. Despite the circumstances around his trade, Cousins made a strong start to his career with the New Orleans Pelicans. With the help of Anthony Davis and the rest of the supporting cast, he lifted the Pelicans from 10th position to 6th. He was dropping outrageous numbers for fun, including 41 points against the Grizzlies and 37 points against the Sacramento Kings. Cousins carried on this stellar form into the 2018 season, establishing himself as the best big man in the league, and by some distance. As a reward for his remarkable form on the court, Cousins was in line to sign a max money extension with the Pelicans worth $200 million. But a season-ending Achilles injury against the Houston Rockets in January 2018 changed everything. And in a blink of an eye, Boogie went from almost securing the biggest paycheck of his career to signing a mediocre one-year deal with the Warriors worth $5 million. After returning from injury, Cousins put up respectable numbers for the Warriors, scoring 14 points in his debut and a season-high 28 points against the Denver Nuggets. But just when he was about to hit top form, he tore his left quadriceps. The big man returned in Game 1 of the 2019 NBA Finals, but his performance was below par, and the Warriors went on to lose in 6 games. Following his stint on the Warriors, Cousins joined the LA Lakers to reunite with Anthony Davis, only for his injury woes to resurface again. He tore his ACL in preseason and was eventually waived off in February 2020 without playing a single game for the team. From then on, Boogie became a journeyman. Between February 2020 and January 2022, he played for 4 different teams, including the Rockets, the Clippers, the Bucks, and the Denver Nuggets. This was undoubtedly the lowest point of Boogie's NBA career. I mean, from being the best center in the league, he was now being tossed around like an old magazine. But it definitely wasn't for a lack of talent. Despite his limited playing time, Cousins showed flashes of his qualities in bits. For instance, in the 2022 playoffs, he averaged 10.6 points for the Nuggets. For context, Boogie came off the bench in all of those games and averaged only 11.4 minutes per game, yet he shot 65.5% from the field and 66.7% from beyond the arc. This was a small sample size, of course, but it showed that Cousins still had something to offer, at least as a bench player. And with his attitude troubles now history, you could have sworn that at least one team would take the chance on Cousins. But that wasn't the case, and within a few weeks it became clear that none of the 30 teams in the league wanted Cousins on their roster. It was quite surprising considering his reputation as a 2-time gold medalist, 4-time All-Star, and at one point, the best center in the entire league. Out of curiosity, Cousins called Bob Myers to ask why nobody was willing to sign him, and here's what the former Warriors GM had to say.
He called me a month ago, and he said, why am I not in the NBA? And I said, you want that answer? He's like, yeah. I said, because people are afraid of how you're gonna act.
Despite this stunning revelation by Myers, Cousins never stopped believing in himself. As recently as November 2023, Boogie told everyone who cared to listen that he was the 3rd best center in the NBA behind Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Well, you'd imagine that guys like Rudy Gobert, Bam Adebayo, and Karl Anthony Towns would have something to say about that. But even if his statement was true, it's very unlikely that an NBA team would take the gamble on DeMarcus Cousins. His injury record in recent times has been disappointing, and even though he's repented, his reputation as a bad boy still precedes him. Cousins seems to have gotten the message, and now he's winding down his career playing for the Taiwan Beer Leopards, having made peace with the fact that his time in the NBA is all but over.